Brilliant. So, hi, welcome to Yorkshire Business Focus. I'm Ian Strachan, and today I'm sat with Nick Cook from AET Motorsports. Good morning, Nick.
Morning. How are you?
Very good, very good. Let's get straight into it, Nick. Tell us about your business. What do you do? How long have you been doing it for?
Right. Okay. So obviously you've mentioned AET Motorsport, which is our core business. We have other brands under that in the form of Voodoo and Voodoo Performance, and we're currently working on a Porsche business that's yet to launch. We're about to go live with that. So we're predominantly a tuning company, I would say. So it's automotive. It's the bringing of a sort of sports car and making it better, whether that be through chassis performance, the engine control system, obviously remapping, and visual upgrades as well.
Brilliant. I love that. And tell us the story of how you got into the motorsport trade.
So for me personally, I mean, obviously AET Motorsport has come off the back of AET Turbos, which is our sister company. So the business has been around for a long time. And the turbos side of the business, I think this year is celebrating its 45th year, something like that. So they're very well established. But for me personally, I actually got into racing at a fairly, well, you could say a young age. However, I didn't start karting at 5 like lots of the professionals because I simply didn't have the money. But I did always have a passion for cars, and then we did a couple of track days, and then that led to selling the track cars and competing with go-karts, and then go-karts into cars, and so on and so forth. And then from there, I suppose I realised that selling cars to make money to go racing probably wasn't going to be wise for a long-term career. So I decided to take the trip down to Autosport International, probably about, I'm going to say 12 years ago now, maybe a bit more than that. And I basically just printed a ton of CVs, and I walked around every stand and said, look, I don't actually know anything about the industry at the moment. I'm just mad on racing my own cars, preparing my own cars, so on and so forth. So I would like to...
Was there any other option for you at that time? Would there be any other industries that attracted you, or any other career that attracted you?
Not really. Not really. I would say, in reality, now I would have been interested in other options such as engineering and things like that. But at the time, being a young lad, mad on motorsport, was just keen to get into this industry one way or another.
Okay, brilliant. And is that the passion that's driven you, getting into that industry?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, that's that. I think certainly in this industry, you simply cannot be successful in motorsport or even the tuning side of the industry without a massive passion for it, because sometimes it is a bit of a labour of love. You know, there's many times where a car comes in and we're building it, and sort of the commercial side of it goes out the window a little bit because you're just so hell-bent on getting that car at the front of the grid or perfect for the customer, or whatever, you know. So most people that you speak to in this industry, it's not possible to do it without a love for it.
Oh, brilliant. So it's kind of big boys toys stuff, isn't it?
100%. Yeah.
You must have got the best workshop going.
So in terms of our workshop facility, we're quite fortunate really, because we have our own hub dyno to do all the testing on. So when somebody comes to us for a remap, for example, we'll put the car on the dyno, we'll run it up in a controlled environment, and it'll tell us what power it's outputting. Then we'll make our changes to the ECU side of things. And then we can run it again to say, right, here's the delta between the two. So the customer knows exactly what they're getting. That also lends itself really well from a race team perspective, because you can see when you're making changes to things, what's the benefit to that customer. So it might not be that they're looking for outright power, but what they do want to do is try and get as much torque as possible low down to be able to pull out the corners. So it's a really useful tool. And then off the back of that, we've got a few ramps, which are, you know, sort of state-of-the-art things. We've got a really nice looking workshop, but more so we, on the tuning side of the business, with the Voodoo brand, which is our own hardware, so such as intercoolers, turbos, downpipes, exhausts, all that side of things. we developed all our own stuff, and then we started to build a big e-commerce presence. So it's really strange, actually. We started out as a workshop and we did really well with it, but then the e-commerce side of the business took off and just morphed everything, because we're selling products all over the world.
So the way you're speaking now, you sound like you are a bunch of engineers sat in a workshop with some of the nicest kit you could get your hands on, tuning up cars and designing nice components to go on cars. Is that basically what you are?
Yeah, I guess essentially that is what it's boiled down to now. I suppose we wear many hats, in the sense of, certainly from a performance industry, it's very, very media led. So I suppose in some respects we're just a big marketing company doing cool videos and making cool bits, and pimping up cars and all the rest of it, and making really fast cars. And off the back of that, being the sort of a media side of that, you need to be able to actually do the work. So we're sort of in some respects, engineering, marketing comes together to breed essentially a big e-commerce and workshop business. So I would say we've done 2 remaps this morning already for clients that have come in, but I would imagine if I were to look at the e-commerce side sales, we'll have sold a hell of a lot of intercoolers, induction kits, air filters, bits and pieces over the weekend, which that's a really good side of the business from a passive income point of view, because it's constant, it sells whilst we're not here. So by doing the R&D and developing the parts and proving those parts on our own demo vehicles, we then allow ourselves the luxury of being able to sell those all over the world, and that really helps.
So that R&D part of it, the engineering R&D, is where's the business going in future? It's obviously got all that research and development, and it's got the marketing goes with it. And I guess really it's kind of a question of where does Nick want to be in the business going forward? What does it look like for you?
It's a really good question. Again, obviously I have to wear multiple hats, but we've now taken the calibrations side of the business in-house, and I do the engine calibrations. And obviously we touched on that there's multiple brands under one hat. So the AET Motorsport brand sells everything that all of the other suppliers in the industry manufacture. So we do quite well fitting other people's exhaust systems or wheels or brakes or whatever. So we do quite well with that, and we also sell those to other people, and we have a big trade network as well, because we've got the buying power to be able to go to someone like Miltech Exhausts and say, look, we'll have 20 of those systems and we'll sit them on the shelf. We then reach out to smaller trade customers and say, look, we can sell these to you for you to then sell them on to your customers. So that's the AET side of it, and it's got the heritage of the turbos company and all that sort of stuff. The Voodoo brand is very much software and hardware that is only made by us, that is our brand, and we have trade customers all over the world for that as well now, as well as retail customers who can access our software packages. So we'll have a Golf R, and we'll develop a stage 1 tune and then a stage 2 package that comes with all the bits to go to the next level, and then a stage 3 with our turbo. And then finally, which we're about to launch now, which is really exciting for us, is the Genome Porsche brand. So we've basically taken what we've learned from those markets, and we wanted to break into Porsche. It's something that we've always been passionate about. It's something that the turbos business has always had a very big part of, right from when Porsche first started turbocharging race cars way back in the day. So it's something we're very excited about. We're taking a slow and calculated approach. We're not as much marketing done yet. We're trying to get all of the development done in the background, and then do a bit more of a hard launch probably this time.
What comes through when we're talking is, hey, Nick's quite a cool, calm kind of guy. Everything seems to be in control, and you've got a good view of it all. How many hours a week are you working to keep all these brands and all this development going at the same time as engine calibration and heading into workshop? And I'm guessing a few times getting behind the steering wheel as well.
Yeah. I mean, we're not doing as much racing this year, but we've done quite a bit, and I've been very fortunate to be able to race off the back of the company. And it's also quite good in the respect that some of the racing that we've been doing promotes the products that we sell. So when we did it with a few years ago, we did Fiesta STs. We built a couple of those and we put all our products on them, and we went and won races, and it helped us sell product. So that was really good. To answer your question about how many hours, yeah, that's a difficult one, because it's pretty much a lifestyle over a job role. So it really is a lot of hours and a lot of manpower.
Has it been that way for the 12, 13 years that you've been growing the business?
Yeah. I mean, it's always been the same. Even in my sort of personal development, I've always had the same approach, because I feel like it is the only way that you can get to a position where you can run your own company, is if you're willing to put the upfront dedication in. So yeah, I probably do far too many hours. However, I'm starting to realise now that with the right people around you, and being able to learn to delegate and making changes to me before anything else, I think that plays a massive part in being able to grow the company from where we are today.
And what is the trick of learning to delegate then?
Probably get overwhelmed and accept that you're not perfect.
Right.
I think the thing is that strangely enough, I think it's when I got to the point, in the last couple of years, where you mature and you realise you can't do everything yourself, but more so you do get tired and you start to think, oh God, I can't keep going on at this rate. So you sort of relax a little bit, and like we've moved our e-commerce business into another unit up the road, and because they're out the way and I can't micromanage everything that they're doing every day, and they just produce me a P&L or a set of reports every month, and you see it and you think, hang on a second, I'm being less and less involved, and the business is still continuing to grow, and they're making their own reports now, and they're making their own mistakes and understanding how to fix that on the whole. So you slowly start to relinquish a little bit of control and maybe think, well, I could do that, or I could go to them and say, this is how I would do it. And then hopefully from there, they take note and we see that progress. And I think then you start to realize that with the right investment of time and training, that you can actually rely on people to do a job. And in some cases, actually, when they start to grow their own wings, they do it better than you.
That's fascinating learning, isn't it? I love that. Yeah. And it's that investment of time and training, though. Is that the sole key, or is there more to getting the right people doing the right things for you?
Yeah, it's difficult. I've tried young people, older people, expensive people, cheaper people, more people, less people, and there's no key to it, I don't think. I think just again, just time and dedication, and putting your time into people. They'll tend to, I think gut instinct is quite a big one, but you give people a benefit of the doubt, and so long as there's a set of process, a set of rules and process for people to follow.
Yeah.
Again, something I didn't buy into when I was younger. It was all just, let's sell our way out of any problem we've got. We can sell more product and make more money, and that doesn't necessarily happen if you're leaving a big mess over here and you've not got your foundations right. And that's something I've realized massively over the last probably 3 to 5 years. But I think if you've got the set of rules and the procedures and the process, once you get people on that sort of in that lane, if you like, they very rarely step out of it. And when they do, you have to understand, why did you step out of it, and what was the net result of you going off piste. And when they see that, rather than you being the aggressor and you've done that wrong and you're wrong and I'm right and all this, what I tend to do is say, let's sit down, let's understand the situation, let's work out why you decided to take that course and what the net result of it was. And when they start to hopefully see the light and go, okay, yeah, so I didn't do that way, and this was the net result, and ultimately it's cost me time and the business money, or I've been sending product out that we're not making any money on, or it's been getting damaged, or and then we try and readjust from there. I think that's the way to go. Trying to take a calm approach does work better.
I love that. I love the process, and the rules. Where do the rules live? How are they disseminated? If you were to take on a new employee tomorrow, how would they get to know what the rules were that you guys have worked out between you?
Again, I always used to see Jill, one of our sort of office managers, accounts ladies. She deals with all that sort of stuff for me, and I used to see a new employee come in and they get the handbook and all this stuff, and I'm like, God, let's just get cracking and actually make some money. But over time, my mindset changed, and I realized that company handbook is the start of telling that person how our brand ethos needs to be and how we expect people to act. And, and then off the back of that, that sets the platform for me or whoever's training them to then spend some time with them. And that's something that I've fallen foul to in the past, being in a small business. Somebody comes in, you give them a very small amount of time, and then you leave them at the deep end because you're busy doing something else.
Yep.
And then when they make mistakes, you're frustrated as to why they're making that mistake, or they're not doing it the way that you would expect them to do it. Again,
there's always the habit then of catching them doing something wrong, but we don't invest as much time and effort into catching them doing stuff right.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. And it's all about a change in the directors to direct rather than do. And that's something that just recently I've sort of really, it's been a weird change, but I've had to accept, and I've said to the staff, I said, look, I'm here and I'm directing you. It's in my role, rather than coming in saying, do this, you don't do it, I then do it for you, and I'm your safety net. You need to have a crack at it. And then when you get it wrong, rather than being scared that you're going to be, reprimanded for it, let's sit down, understand it. And so long as you're making progress over making that mistake a couple of times, that's acceptable. But if you make the mistake and it doesn't dawn on you after a few times as to why you've made that mistake and how you can change it, you clearly either need more training or you're not in the right role.
It's fascinating, isn't it? So the story you've told us about being the hungry young man, wants to come into motorsports, playing with the nice toys, the racing, all that. But now there's a whole new phase that's coming through for you in terms of actually the people and how to actually lead. Well, it is genuine leadership, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it's, I guess I've always in the past I've led by saying we must work the hardest, we must win at everything, which is still the ethos of the business. It's come from the motorsport background. We're just winners. It doesn't matter what we do, we want to win at it and be the best at it, which is understandable. But I've also had to realize that we are human and we do need time at home with families, and we do need downtime, and you do need rest, because otherwise you wear people out very quickly. And we've been victim to that quite a bit. I guess there's many a times where if it wasn't my business and my livelihood, that I probably would have been worn out and thought, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. And certainly the technicians in the workshop, they get a lot of hammer, so it's hard. And sometimes they come in and they're so happy to be working in this environment that they'll put 100 hours a week in, and they'll do that for 3 months and then be absolutely worn out, and we're not getting the best out of them anymore. So it's all about trying to balance workload against home life and family, to then keep them at a level so that after 3 months they're still feeling good, and they've got another 6 months, 8 months, 12 months, and then a nice big break at Christmas. Breaking the year up so that there's enough downtime, that's really important. See it a lot where people get that wrong.
Yeah, and I guess one of the other ways is to celebrate with them when things go right. It's not just about the rules. It's not about imposing rules, but also when things go well. What kind of things do you do to celebrate with the team?
Everything from tipping up with coffees, that's always a good one. That gets you some brownie points with the team. We have evenings out where we'll go out and we'll eat together, and we are like a bit of a mini family. We've built the business up to be very big at one time, and we had lots of staff and it was costing lots of money and all the rest of it. And then we've come back down a little bit, and now we're sort of eking back out a little bit more. But we'll always try and do things. And the motorsport, that's always been quite a good one, particularly for the lads in the workshop, because that's what they want to do. So although we're having a year out this year, next year we're hoping to go back and do a little bit of something, whether that's testing at the Nürburgring, because we've been out doing that. You know, racing in a championship, just doing something where we get out as a team and show off what we can do. I think that's really good.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So, what are the 3 little wins that you celebrated recently with the team? What's been going well for you?
I would say the Porsche thing, that is taking shape now, and people are starting to see it. And we've just put the website live, albeit we've soft launched, so we've not really told anybody. We're just letting Google do all its indexing and getting the SEO right and things like that. So whilst we've not quite celebrated that yet, we're on the cusp of it, and that'll be quite.
I guess the celebration's in your heart, isn't it? At that moment when you can actually go, right, soft launch, yeah, it's now open to the public. Yeah.
I think we're right on the cusp of that, and I think that the excitement is bubbling away in the background for everybody, and we're all starting to feel it. So that's a small win, I would say, that's going in the right direction. I suppose another win would be that we've brought some new guys in and they're keen to get going, and we've managed to successfully split the e-commerce business from the workshop side of the business, which has given us some space back and some scope to be able to rebrand in the workshop that's just to my right hand side here. So the guys are currently on with rebranding it all to the new Porsche business down here, whilst the other guys are up in their own unit, and you know, they're chuffed to bits that they're not stumbling across cars and tools and things whilst they're trying to run that side of the business. So, and that's going really, really well. They currently have hit every monthly target of our financial year so far, apart from one. However, because they've overachieved in certain months, by so much, it's actually covered for a quiet month. So we're, in terms of year on year, we're way ahead, even though they're very much doing that on their own. So it's a big moment for them, really, and I think they're really happy about it. So yes, I would say there's
a massive intrinsic reward, isn't there, in actually achieving. The achievement is such a powerful reward, particularly when a boss like you is actually able to look at the stats and say, yeah, we can see that success, we can actually measure that success, rather than being subjective. Yeah, I love that.
100%. Yeah. And then probably the third thing is we've just come back from the Nürburgring with the Porsche, because we've got a couple of demo cars, and we've developed all our own calibrations for the ECU, and the idea being is we go to the ring because that's where all the manufacturers do their sort of official testing, and we unofficially go there, put some laps in, and then, you know, we can say, look, we've done 30 laps of the ring, we've done 3,000 miles driving there and back and all around the place, and it's been consistent, and the software's right, the engine's good, everything's as it should be. So that's a really good launch pad for us as a starting point, and it's you know, it's a bit of a stamp of authority that lots of people don't do, because they don't feel confident enough, you know, whereas that's our sort of yardstick, if you like.
You have to soak test it over 3,000 miles and laps of the Nürburgring.
Certainly, yeah, and obviously that's an enjoyable. Well, providing everything goes well, it's an enjoyable week for me as well.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, brilliant! I love that. So, I mean, so much you've achieved, so much. What would you say if you're going back to speak to your 10-year-old self? What would you be saying to your 10-year-old self? What advice would you be handing out?
Like I said, I think you know, I've mentioned this before when I've been speaking to you, is it's very difficult because 10-year-old me wouldn't have listened to me anyway. However, if I was advising a younger version of me that maybe had the maturity that's come with practice and time, I would probably say to myself, relax. You don't need to do everything overnight, and believe in people. So take the time to invest in people, because they are capable. Just every person needs helping in a different way to achieve.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I love that. I think that's a great way to end, actually, is that I love the message in there. Relax and trust that people can actually achieve for you. Oh, that's a great message, that. Awesome. Thank you very much indeed, Nick. It's a great journey through where you've been and what you do and what drives you. I think in terms of, well, we win at everything. I think kind of understates where you guys go, because you win with the people as well as you win with the tools. I love that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much indeed, Nick. Thank you very much for coming on Yorkshire Business Focus. We'll see you all again next week. And yeah, just one last time, thanks very much indeed, Nick.